All right, we are officially recording right now. All righty. So I'm going to start this off. Welcome. This is Group 5, HRM 611 Human Resource Audit on CEMS Engineering. And Natasha Biggs is going to start us off with the company background.
Right. CEMS Engineering is a full-service multidisciplinary engineering firm. The firm has a desire to differentiate the company by producing quality engineering solutions and pretty much taking care of their customers' needs. Primary source of revenue is going to be government funding. They are about 80% government, federal government, and about 20% commercial and local and state government fundings. So when it comes to a new source of funding or old source being reduced, it's pretty much once the contract is ended, then the job is complete and is eliminated from there. The employees are distributed throughout the organization on an operational function. Some of the job titles, we're looking at fire protector EITs with our engineerings and training, interior designers, telecommunication designers, facility. It's also with the engineering skill base, as whether if they're electrical, structural, agricultural, or mechanical. A noticeable employment trend over the recent years have been an increase of the civil and electric engineers. When it comes to operating overseas, the company itself does not have operation functions overseas other than working on government-based contracts. The threats and the opportunities of the company pretty much goes hand in hand because the workforce shifts as the economy shifts. So if the economy declines and there is no federal funding, there's a decline in contracts. So for the most part, CEMS has an objective to deliver creativity and effective multidisciplinary solutions to the facilities and infrastructure need while enhancing the quality of life for their clients, partners, and associates. The whole base to narrow down the strategies addressing the challenges that they may have when there's a decline in the economy. It's pretty much implementing real world solutions so that their employees can have a balanced work life, developing an ongoing awareness and understanding of their clients' needs so they can make sure they get their projects done on time, staying related with the latest technology trends so that they can have the best quality of work and have a competitive advantage over their competitors. Next, we will discuss the human resource functions, diversity, and legal issues with faith.
So CMS has an identifiable human resource function within their business administrative department. Since 1989, this HR function has been part of the business administrative department and primarily focuses on keeping them in compliance. Due to their federal contracts, they have to maintain a certain level of compliance. The other thing is they're at that threshold of being right over 50 employees, but they're under 100 employees. And once you hit that 50 employee threshold, some of your compliances change. They function in a very specialized and talented consulting industry. Some of their engineers are some of the best in the country when it comes to like airfoil lighting, and so they have to make sure that they're paying attention to that. They do connect, and have a need for HR as in their strategic operations and continuing to develop that strategy. They have 2 individuals in HR at this point in time. The individual we met with, Robert Melanier, is head of the HR and financial areas for the business administrative. He wears many hats in the firm. And then they have Miss Donna, who works as the business administrative assistant. And then they utilize some outsourcing to help with their HR needs. They outsource to 3 different companies right now at this point in time. My HR Concierge, Benefits Mall, and Local Job Network. My HR Concierge handles all their onboarding for medical, dental, vision, insurance, their COBRA payments, anything to do with medical, health, dental insurance. It handles, my Benefit Mall handles all their new hiring reporting, state and federal, and they utilize ADP for payroll services. And then the new one that they brought in is the Local Jobs Network. Again, they're focused on keeping compliant, and this helps them meet that need there, where they are ensuring that their job postings are being distributed to the necessary areas to maintain compliance. They have support for their field managers or any type of field personnel on the ground in foreign countries at U.S. air bases. That is the only time that they have work out of the country, is on U.S. bases. HR is a small role in the term of business development for this firm. Due to the federal contracting, they have to meet a minimum standard in affirmative action of 6.5% and 7% for ADA. And at this point in time, the human resource functions are not addressing any current legal issues or challenges within the firm. We're going to move next to Merit to discuss meeting the human resource requirements.
So this next section is about job analysis, planning, recruitment, and selection. An important question to address is about the degree to which human resource management is integrated into the strategic management of the organization. At CEMS, they have a unique HR advantage in that its HR director, Robert, wears many hats. Not only is he responsible for HR, but he's also an operations manager, also a business development manager. His understanding of the firm's revenues, client needs, utilization, and the resources available to access manpower gives him the operational and tactical knowledge to allocate his human capital effectively. So far as being responsible for human resource planning, again, that's Robert Melanian. His methods that he uses to determine staffing needs. He studies the workflow analysis at CEMS by examining the metric of utilization to determine how much manpower is needed presently and what will be required in the future. So far as the organization's focus on staffing short-term or long-term human resource needs, the firm's primarily interested in hiring full-time, long-term employees. Robert states he values experience, and one of his goals is to retain his employees. He also states that he does take on 3 or 4 paid intern positions annually. He states his experiences also with independent contractors have been at times necessary, but is not the way he or the organization prefers to handle staffing. So far as job analyses and job descriptions, Robert handles both. He states that he handles the analyses by observing and interviewing the engineers and architects at CEMS. He's able to gain a perspective as to the requirements by observing each position. He reviews the analyses and descriptions annually and updates them as industry standards change. So far as human resource planning, he states that he adds employees as the firm increases its number of contracts. Normally, he doesn't have any difficulty finding additional manpower. He says he's fortunate because many former Department of Defense and veterans apply to work at CEMS. So far as a procedure used for filling job vacancies, Robert does state that he looks to some sources such as the localjobnetwork.com, also the state's job board, and also Indeed.com has been helpful at times as well. The process of selection. So Robert reviews the resumes and then solicits applications to the applicants that he felt good about their resumes. Then he outsources recruiter phone screens. Then the interviews are actually conducted by him. And from those interviews, he knows which tests, employment tests, to order for the candidates to verify their statements as to being proficient in certain designing applications. And then lastly, the company nor Robert believe that background checks are necessary, and that's an issue that we'll expand on and explore a little bit more in Section 7. So far as social media, so Robert stated that really so far as finding applicants, candidates, LinkedIn, etc., really hasn't been that helpful for their firm. He also states that filling new positions at the firm with existing employees doesn't really work because each position is so highly specialized. The way Robert put it was, you either have the skills or you don't. He also mentioned trying to be helpful with different employees and the work-life balance, trying to be flexible with work schedules. He states that he has learned through experience to monitor and hold employees to their commitments, the changes that is to their schedules. Over the years, Robert has stated that he's been able to use a good bit of outsourcing. The companies that Faith mentioned, the 3 companies that Faith mentioned, third parties that she mentioned in Section 2, has actually allowed him to downsize the HR function, the HR department, by a couple of heads, saving, of course, on costs. He states that he's always looking to eliminate non-revenue generating positions. Robert mentioned so far as a challenge in the recruiting and selection process. The challenge is, again, verification of the skills that the applicants claim they possess. And he's developed testing to gauge their proficiency in the design-related software, testing both through a third party and then testing actually there at CMS as well, conducted by one of their senior engineers. And with that, we'll move to Section 4.
Okay, so Section 4 was about training and development for the company. What CEMS uses is a program called Red Vector, which is a third-party company that allows employees to do online training. The training is tailored toward the position, and it also provides the employees with help with getting certified for their certifications. With CEMS, they require all of its employees to have engineering and architecture certifications. Red Vector also allows them to renew their license, renew their certifications every other year to be up to date on their certifications. And it also helps them with their career and professional development throughout the company. So that helps them if they want to go into other positions with the company. Red Vector does. So the company relies heavily on the job training, which they shadow those that are already in the positions that they're wanting. And according to our textbook, it shows like some of the pros and cons of using on the job training, which some of the pros are that it's flexible and relevant to what the employees will be doing on the job. And it can be very effective if it's well planned and well executed. Some cons for on-the-job training would include really the trainer, which the trainer may have no experience in training employees on the position, or they may not have time to do it, or they may not have the desire to do it at all. So that could leave the trainee with the risk of getting incorrect information from their trainers and not being like well trained for that position. So also with CEMS engineering, they train their employees on the drafting application called Rivet, which allows them, it's kind of like how they like design the buildings and like the architecture and stuff that they're trying to build for other companies and stuff like that. So it teaches them how to like draw and like build stuff and stuff like that, with that program. So like that's one of the main focuses that the company uses is Rivet and the Red Vector and also the on the job training. So the employers strive to maintain their costs at a level that rewards employees fairly for their knowledge, skills, abilities, and performance accomplishments while allowing the firm to remain competitive and successful. At CEMS Engineering, they use merit pay to determine raises for its employees. With the merit pay system, it allows employers to reward and retain critical, high-performing individuals, which with CEMS Engineering, it has retained most of its employees. Some have been with the company for over 10 or 15 years so far. So they've been really good at retaining their employees. Their raises occur annually, and they allow their employees to evaluate themselves as well as the managers evaluate them, which sparks conversation and negotiation for pay raises for that individual. So now we can move on to section 5.
Yep. So this next section 5 of the study, it's about implementing a compensation system at CEMS, and it's important to address how wage and salary levels and annual improvements are determined. Our interview with Robert, he states that compensation levels are determined by both annual employee appraisals and by using a match the market strategy. Salary levels, so far as being adequate to enable the organization, CEMS, to attract and maintain an effective workforce. He states that, that is, Robert states that his goal during the hiring process is to select a candidate that he believes will be a long-term contributor. So far as the type of candidate, full-time, stable employees are the most desirable. Robert also believes that CEMS's employee benefits package is a factor that keeps the firm competitive. So far as differentials in salary grades, appropriately reflecting the differentials in skills and responsibilities, Robert stated in the interview that he will award increases for both knowledge and skills. Again, he does this because when he hires people, his goal is to retain them long term. Like Rochelle was discussing, the merit pay and incentive compensation that's used, the firm, CEMS, is committed to merit pay. CEMS believes in the pay for performance philosophy and does not reward employees just for their seniority. The organization values and rewards employees that take on additional roles beyond their job descriptions. And then so far as in the appraising process, a list of additional rewardable factors that are evaluated during the appraisals. A couple of those are quality of work, attitude, knowledge of work, job skills, attendance and punctuality, teamwork and cooperation, compliance with the company's policies, improvement, acceptance of responsibility. Moving on, important issue to address is bonuses for executives. So the executives are the partners, and the partners do pay themselves an annual bonus before any employee compensation changes are made effective. So far as non-wage fringe benefits, CEMS provides a reimbursement to all employees of $500. It's called a recreational bonus, and it can be used for tuition, childcare, recreational memberships. So far as providing for family and medical leave, the answer is yes. CEMS does provide 3 months unpaid leave. Employees must request a leave of absence. It can be for medical, educational, or even personal reasons, and that can be after the exhaustion of actual paid leave. Of course, in addition, both maternity and paternity leave up to 3 months is considered and honored. CMS, in addition, provides pay for jury leave, time and pay for presidential elections, funeral leave, military leave. So far as the organization providing health insurance coverage, it does. It actually encourages participation in their group health insurance program. That program is set up as a cafeteria benefit plan. It's administered by a third party, by myhrconcierge.com, which handles the open enrollments. CMS also will provide employees a match who want to open a health savings account. The HSA account, what CEMS will do is actually halve the cost, half it for either a self deductible or a family deductible. The fund must be used actually for qualifying expenses, and any unused portions do remain in the employee's account where they can collect interest for the benefit of the employee. The organization, so far as special programs to promote health and safety conditions on the job, CMS wants to make it clear that the firm is committed to conducting its business in a manner that provides a safe and healthy workplace. It expects its employees to do their part to ensure the safety inside and outside the office when traveling, visiting vendors, clients. On construction sites, employees are expected to follow all the vendor client safety rules, such as wearing hard hats, safety glasses, safety shoes. CMS also makes mention of an open door policy. That's in many areas, very helpful. The company takes employee concerns and problems seriously. The company values each employee and strives for a positive work experience. So far as retirement, pension benefits, so far as they're offering at CMS, CMS encourages its employees to participate in its company 401k. Employees actually become eligible really early, only after 60 days of employment. CMS does provide a company match as displayed here on this slide. And with that, we're going to move on to Section 6.
Oh, that's me. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so as far as like employee relations, if any grievances occur at the company at CEMS, then they're handled at different levels of management, which it starts with the first line supervisor, which is like the immediate supervisor for that department, and then it will go up to like the board, and then reach the top towards Robert if it's anything that's extreme and that's going on. But as far as like any grievances or any problems, they haven't mentioned anything as far as employee complaints or grievances that have occurred throughout the company. The turnover rate is low for the company, so they retain most of their employees. Some have been there for years. There are no legal challenges in regards to discipline. And the company, they have no unions at the company either. So they're in the right to work state, so they don't have to worry about any unions coming in or their employees going to any union. As far as their policy for internet access and email and social media, the company uses the computers mainly for business. So it's mainly either to use the Rivet system or to do the trainings, or they may be searching in local areas for businesses or such and such. So they may just be using it to search. So the employees, if they're using the internet for anything else, for personal use or anything like that, then it is grounds for termination. And the company does have access to where they're able to monitor internet usage and email. And we can go on to section 7 to wrap up everything.
Okay, so the summary and evaluation, several observed issues. First and foremost, not much has changed over the years at CMS Engineering since the founding principals were in charge. The firm still does not truly integrate or see the strategic power of integrating HR function into the mission's objectives and strategic plan of the organization. As you can see by the mission statement there on the screen, it is very lengthy and kind of lumps the mission and vision together. With that, a couple observed evaluations we think that they could utilize to improve their HR function. They are utilizing the third-party consultants to help keep their HR function in budget and stay in compliance. But they could develop an HR strategic plan that focus on how to integrate the HR function and the overall business objectives and planning. Background checks is a biggie. They really need to think about those, and having an HR direct contact. So with this, to develop a more concise mission and vision statement, a mission tells your employees, tells your clients what you're about, a vision tells you where you're going. I think that would be helpful. The other thing to come in and take that 40X process and help this organization figure out what are truly their strategic objectives and what their lag and lead measures are, and how HR can help them achieve the financial goals that they strive for as a company, especially in maintaining some of their federal contracts. And this will lead into making sure that overall performance improves. They have low turnover rate, but let's make sure your employees are happy. They may be staying because compensation is really good, but let's improve organizational culture and then take those EITs that they have and those interns that come in and develop them into the future business leaders. The second recommendation, or third at this point in time, would be continuing education for Robert and or Donna, so they have a little more background in strategic HR and it's not such a focus on compliance. And then the final one we'll let Natasha talk about before we move into backgrounds with merit.
Okay, so one of the recommendations was to pretty much have an employee hotline number so that the employees can have direct contact to report any HR issues or related issues. The hotline number is an effective tool to find small problems before they can cause significant damage. It provides insurance to those employees that they have a way to be able to call a number and report an issue without any type of harassment or retaliation towards them for whatever the issue is that they would like to report. And it makes them comfortable with who they're reporting to, that is not someone within the firm that they have to work with every day or work side by side with. So that's a recommendation that we had as far as providing a direct contact employee hotline number.
So one other human resource problem that needs to be confronted and solved, our group that is believes there at CEMS. We did some talking again during the interview with Robert, and getting I guess CMS's and Robert's thoughts and beliefs that on the topic of background checks. They believe that employee privacy rights have the potential to be violated in accordance with the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution during a background check. And it's for this reason that CMS does not conduct background checks on its employment candidates. Robert kind of expanded a little bit and said that, or posed this question, which was, why should a candidate have to pay for a discretion twice? He's paid for it in one way or another in society. Why should he have to pay for it again in an employment setting? So the problem that our group sees with, I guess, this line of thought is that that current literature, the text that we're reading here, are saying that court decisions actually are trending in favor of employers when it comes to employee rights on the topic of background checks. The solution would be here to actually perform background checks, specifically criminal records, credit reports, checking references on all the folks that are offered employment there at CMS. An employer's liability hinges on how well it investigates an applicant's background according to our text. Terms like respondent superior, scope of employment, negligence, negligent hiring. Those are all very important topics that we believe that CMS should take a second look at. There's an established procedure to determine whether negligent hiring has occurred by an organization. In that procedure, the standard of conduct or duty to others is a point for seeability. So far as the organization is a point of emphasis. Knowledge is a term that should be considered. Also, public policy for particular types of employment that are sensitive, the employer's failure to exercise a degree of care, a coworker that is harmed, or a third party that can be harmed, and then citing an employer's failure to exercise a proper degree of care and hiring when an injury occurs to a third party or another person. So lots of important terms and issues there that should really be re-examined by the firm. Again, just to circle back, this can all be improved by performing the background check. And an adequate background check might include verifying current and previous residences, contacting references, verifying past employment, verifying past military service, verifying the possession of degrees, licenses, credentials, checking driving and criminal records, examining internet sites and postings, and examining credit reports. If CMS will consider these 4 recommendations that our group believes could use improvement, their strategic HR function should see improvement. Finally, we wanted to thank Robert Melanian and CMS. We appreciate them very much for allowing us to study their organizations and make our observations and make some